What if I told you a prophecy written more than 2,500 years ago may already mention Iran in a future war? Not symbolically, not vaguely, but directly through the ancient name of a nation that still exists today. Every time tensions rise in the Middle East, millions ask, does the Bible talk about Iran? And surprisingly, the answer is yes. The Bible never uses Iran, as that name didn't exist then. But it mentions Persia, which we now know as modern-day Iran. That's why when conflict involves Israel, Iran, Russia, or surrounding nations, attention turns to Ezekiel, a prophecy so detailed, so intense, many believe it describes a future war unlike anything the world has seen. The passage is Ezekiel chapter 38 and 39, and this is where things start getting chilling. Ezekiel lived 600 years before Jesus, amidst chaos and collapsing kingdoms. He wrote of a future invasion against Israel, involving multiple nations joining together in a massive military alliance. Among those nations, one name stands out: Persia. Ezekiel 38:5 says, Persia, Cush and Put will be with them, all with shields and helmets. For centuries, people read these verses without understanding their modern connection. Today, many wonder if pieces are moving into place. Modern Iran is not just geographically connected to ancient Persia, it's historically, culturally, and nationally tied. That changes everything. According to Ezekiel's prophecy, Persia joins a coalition led by Gog from Magog. Scholars debate these identities, some linking Magog to regions north of Israel, possibly Russia. Others disagree completely. That's important to understand. Bible prophecy is one of the most debated topics in Christianity. Some interpret these passages literally, others see them symbolically. Some believe the prophecy has already happened in ancient times. Others believe it describes events still coming in the future. But regardless of interpretation, one thing is undeniable. Iran's presence in biblical prophecy keeps capturing global attention, and there's a reason for that. Today, Iran is one of Israel's strongest regional opponents. Military threats, missile programs, proxy conflicts, and warnings from world leaders constantly fuel fears of a larger war. So when people read an ancient prophecy describing Persia joining a military alliance against Israel, they immediately notice the parallel. But the prophecy becomes even more dramatic. Ezekiel describes this invasion as massive. Nations gathering together, armies moving from the north, a coordinated attack against Israel during a time when the land feels secure. Then, suddenly, according to the prophecy, everything changes. The Bible describes earthquakes, confusion among armies, fire, destruction, and supernatural intervention. The invading forces collapse in a way that leaves the world shocked. Ezekiel 38:23 says, "And so I will show my greatness and my holiness, and make myself known in the eyes of many nations. Then they will know that I am the Lord." That verse is one reason this prophecy fascinates so many people. Because the conflict is not presented as merely political, it becomes spiritual. A moment where nations, power, fear, and faith collide. And this is exactly why conversations about Iran and biblical prophecy continue growing online, especially during times of war. But here's something many videos leave out. Not every Christian believes current events are fulfilling Ezekiel right now. Some respected Bible scholars warn against connecting every modern headline directly to prophecy. History is full of people predicting the end times, only to be proven wrong. Wars have happened for thousands of years. Empires have risen and fallen. Political alliances constantly change. So responsible interpretation matters. Still, many believers argue that something feels different today. For the first time in modern history, the geopolitical conditions described in Ezekiel seem possible in ways previous generations could barely imagine. Israel exists again as a nation. Iran is openly hostile toward Israel. Russia has influence across the Middle East. Regional alliances continue shifting. And technology now allows wars to impact the entire planet instantly, through media, economics, and global fear. Two prophecy watchers. These developments are impossible to ignore. But the story becomes even more interesting when you look deeper into Persia's role in the Bible. Because Persia was not always portrayed as an enemy. In fact, one of the most famous Persian kings was Cyrus the Great, and according to the Bible, Cyrus played a major role in helping the Jewish people. After the Babylonian Empire conquered Jerusalem and destroyed the temple, many Jews were taken captive. Years later, the Persian Empire defeated Babylon. Cyrus then allowed the Jewish exiles to return home and rebuild Jerusalem. In the book of Isaiah, God even refers to Cyrus as a chosen instrument. Think about that for a moment. The same nation connected by many people to future war prophecy also once helped restore Israel. That contrast is powerful. It reminds us that history is never simple. Nations change, leaders change, alliances change, and prophecy itself is often far more complex than social media clips make it seem. Still, the fear surrounding a possible Iran war remains real. Experts warn that any direct large-scale conflict involving Iran and Israel could affect oil markets, global economies, and civilian populations across the region. And because the Middle East sits at the center of so many religious, political, and historical tensions, every military escalation captures worldwide attention. That's why searches about Iran in the Bible explode whenever tensions rise. People want answers. People want certainty. People want to know whether ancient prophecy is actually unfolding before their eyes. But perhaps the deeper message of Ezekiel is not merely about identifying nations or predicting military strategies. Perhaps the deeper message is about humanity itself: power, pride, violence, fear, and the constant struggle between human control and divine authority. Throughout the Bible, wars are never only political events. They reveal the condition of nations, leaders, and people. They expose what humanity trusts in when fear takes over: weapons, armies, money, power. Yet, biblical prophecy repeatedly points back to one idea: that no kingdom on earth lasts forever. Empires rise, empires fall, but truth remains. And whether someone believes Ezekiel's prophecy refers to our future, our past, or symbolic spiritual realities, the passage still forces people to ask difficult questions. What happens when humanity believes it can solve everything through force? What happens when nations move closer to confrontation instead of peace? And what happens if the warnings written thousands of years ago were never meant to entertain us or to wake us up? That may be the most important part of the entire discussion, because prophecy in the Bible was never given simply to create fear. Its purpose was often to call people toward awareness, humility, repentance, and faith. Even Jesus spoke about wars and rumors of wars. In the Gospel of Matthew, he warned that conflicts would continue, nations would rise against nations, and the world would experience turmoil. But he also warned people not to panic, because fear can blind people just as much as ignorance can. And maybe that is where we are today, living in a world flooded with information, headlines, predictions, and fear every single day. One missile launch becomes global news within seconds. One political speech creates international panic overnight. And in the middle of all this noise, ancient biblical prophecies suddenly feel more relevant than ever before. So, is the Bible predicting a future Iran war? Some people firmly believe yes, others strongly disagree. But one fact remains undeniable: the ancient nation of Persia is clearly named in biblical prophecy. And thousands of years later, the modern world is still trying to understand what it means. Maybe the real mystery is not whether prophecy exists. Maybe the real mystery is how words written thousands of years ago continue echoing into our modern world with such unsettling relevance. Because every generation thinks it stands at the edge of history. Every generation wonders if they are witnessing the beginning of the end. And every generation searches for meaning when the world feels unstable. But perhaps the biggest question is not, is this prophecy happening now? Perhaps the biggest question is, if it is, are we paying attention?